Hey, it's Dr. Hillary from Rangeline Chiropractic. I have a treat for everyone. So we're here with Swathi. Hey, Swathi.
Hi, Dr. Hillary.
We're going to talk about hair loss, and Swathi even has a little PowerPoint for us so we can visually learn about this. Swathi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Be Well Family Care?
Yes, thank you so much. We love these classes that you do. What a great gift to your patients. So my name is Swathi Rao, and I'm a physician assistant, and I work at a family practice called Be Well Family Care, and we are all about doing roots up medicine. So it'll be fun today because I'll be able to kind of guide you guys through how someone might come in with a complaint such as hair loss, and we'll kind of walk you through some of the steps that we would do to try to fix that roots up, no pun intended.
Yeah, really. It does kind of go well with hair, doesn't it?
I was like, I need a clever title. I'm like,
it was a really good one. I love puns. I'm all over that.
but if you guys want to pick up on any of the classes that we do, I'm sitting in our beautiful teaching kitchen. Please visit us at bewellfamilycare.com.
Yes, you have some amazing classes there that you get to do in person. I love it.
Or virtually during this time period. So.
Oh, yes. True. True. Yeah, well, I think hair loss is something that I know especially women don't like to talk about. But I do get that question once in a while from patients. And, there's the usual people selling products that might change hair loss or taking different things. And I thought, you know what, let's just go to the root, boom, and talk to Swathi about it. So
yeah,
tell us, Swathi, tell us what we can do.
It's $1 million industry, right? The hair industry, and everyone's trying to tell you, how do you make your hair look prettier, shinier, healthier, thicker? And so we hear probably the most common complaints that we hear in our office is GI distress, fatigue, hair loss. These are the types of things that people talk about, right? But those same signs of hair loss can actually help you prevent really chronic disease. So it's really important, I think, that we talk about it. So I will share my screen here, and hopefully you guys can see. Oops. I started talking with you, Hillary, and there we go, our roots up screen. So can you guys see that okay?
It is not up yet, Swathi, for a share.
Okay. So we were doing so good there for a minute.
There we go. It's beautiful.
Fantastic. Okay, great. And Hillary and I are going to have a little conversation as we're talking about this, but I thought this would kind of put it together a little bit for us. So this is how, if you walk into my office and say, hey, Swathi, I'm having some hair loss, this is how I would really be thinking about it. So not necessarily what products are you using, here's a new fancy treatment that's going to be $1 million, but why is it that you're having that? So the number one thing that everyone tells me is it's genetic. This happens in my family, but for me, is it really genetics or is it not? And so in our practice, we will always, always, always start food first. And so believe it or not, hair loss can really be tied to your gut health. And so is there a food sensitivity that could be causing inflammation on your scalp where you could be losing hair? And so just sometimes taking away things like gluten or dairy can make a difference. Are you actually digesting the foods that you eat? So you know that old adage, you know what you eat? Well, in our office, it's you are what you absorb.
That's awesome.
Digest, right? And so, and then of course, the third component of it is, are you actually nourished? Do you have any kinds of anemias? Do you have the right kinds of supplements and vitamins, not necessarily in supplement, but from food-based, that you can actually help your hair follicle develop to be healthy? And so that's kind of where we would start right away. And then, of course, if you know of any functional medicine office anywhere, they will talk to you about what's called a leaky gut and make sure that you're really digesting your food well and not causing inflammation from there. So then we do look at genetics. And so a lot of times guys will come in and say, my dad had this, my grandpa had this, everyone in my family has this at a certain age. It's called androgenic alopecia. But then when you really look at the hormonal differences there, is it really genetic, or is the genetics how your body handles these hormones? And so sometimes when you dive into it, looking at hormones, we can find answers to things that seemingly are just genetic. And so then say with women, people will come in all the time and say, this is genetic. This happened to my mom. It happened to everywhere else. But is there really another roots up cause? And so then we go straight into, what are you doing with your hair? Because honestly, half the products sometimes that are trying to sell you on hair loss, I think sometimes can actually be damaging your hair. And so how much heat do you do? Are you just stripping your hair or brushing brushing it when it's wet? Are you pulling on it because you're a little nervous? And there's even, the extreme version of that is an anxiety-based autoimmune disorder called trichotillomania. And we've diagnosed 2 people with that in our office. Hair color. What kind of hair color are you using? Is it natural? Is it really healthy? Or is it pretty toxic to your hair? Are you over shampooing? I'm someone that used to shampoo every day. It was just part of my routine. And as I got older, I was like, man, I can't do that anymore. It really strips my hair unless I get a really gentle shampoo. Hair straightening, right? So many different things like that. And then we have to look at infections. No one likes to think about this, but sometimes there's certain types of hair loss that can be viral or especially fungal. Oftentimes this will look different and it will present a little bit different than your typical, hair loss that people see, but it's important. Most of the time people come in earlier for this, but you've got to take care of these things before you start working on everything else. And so then we think about toxins, and we absolutely live in a toxic world.
Yes.
And so every year the average person is exposed to 14 pounds of pesticides and herbicides in our food.
That's crazy.
I know, right? So
I have never heard that. I mean, I totally believe you, but oh my gosh, 14 pounds?
I think the environmental working group had that on there, and I was like, I've got to put that in there.
Yes.
So where do our toxins come from? They're all around us. Pollution in the air, auto exhaust, solvents, right? But sometimes it can be internal, undigested foods, bacteria, byproducts of metabolism, and really our lifestyle, cosmetics that we wear, alcohol. These are all things that can make a real big difference. For hair loss, oftentimes we'll really look at heated plastics because they can cause endocrine disruptors in your body. Those Starbucks cups that people get, and they're drinking that hot Starbucks out of them, that thin layer of that plastic coating inside is actually an endocrine disruptor. And so things like that can make a real difference, right? Yeah. And so the biggest toxin though that I think that there is stress.
Yeah, I like how you put that in red.
Right, absolutely, because that's where we're headed to. And so
for
me, that's a huge deal. And so oftentimes that leads us right into hormonal balance. And when people start thinking about hormonal balance, they'll start talking about estrogen and testosterone and dihydrotestosterone. And these are really important things. For example, a lot of that male pattern baldness that we see is actually a conversion of men's testosterone as they get older to something called dihydrotestosterone. And interesting story is way back when we were trying to come up with medicines for as prostates got bigger and bigger, one of the medicines that we used was a medicine called finasteride. It wasn't a great prostate medicine, but it converted dihydrotestosterone back to testosterone to help to regenerate the prostate. And what they were finding was the guys were growing hair. So guess what? Now it is it's redone and labeled a new drug, and it's more expensive, but it's for hair loss now.
Mm-hmm. So it used to be you said, it's a multi-million-dollar industry, exactly. So of course it would be more expensive.
Exactly right. And then of course estrogen and progesterone. But what I wanted to show with this picture is hormonal balance is really this beautiful dance of all the hormones in your body. Cortisol for stress, serotonin, dopamine, neurotransmitters, thyroid, obviously, that we're going to talk about here in a minute, insulin, dopamine, all of these wonderful neurohormones, sex hormones, thyroid hormones, stress hormones play this beautiful role in your body. And when the dance is really getting performed well, that's where your hair is healthy, right? That's where you feel good too. That's where you have best energy. That's when you're sleeping well. And so going back to stress, so this is about as stressful as I think as it gets, right? And so
yeah.
This little guy is about ready to be eaten. So to me, I think stress is probably the number one factor that most people lose hair, especially women that come in to see us. And you're losing that little bit of hair right in here, right? And so why does this little gazelle not lose hair? Because obviously he's living in a fight or flight state of mode, right? And it's because humans are the only species that have the capacity to remember and re-experience our stress, whether it be good or bad. So we live in it, right? We thrive, we just kind of consume ourselves with it. And that's the reason why we get that. Because I've never seen an animal with hair loss before. Have you?
No. I was just thinking, I can imagine his little hair is just flying off as he's getting chased.
I mean, that's what should happen, right? If what we're saying is right. But yeah, humans have a very different perception of stress. And that stress will lead to usually three different symptoms, I think: afternoon crashing and fatigue, hair loss, and central weight gain. And those are the three things that seem to come in together when we hear those the complaints come in with younger women. To me, younger women is women that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And so we hear that all the time. So that moves us right into the thyroid, which we spend a lot of our lives dealing with in our practice. Stress.
That lovely little organ.
Exactly right. That lovely little organ really affords you the capacity to have good metabolism, the ability to have really healthy hair, the ability to even have heat and cold intolerance in your body, be well managed and well balanced. And so thyroid, though, when you look at it, is very complicated. It's not as easy as, hey, this is what's going on, especially in a functional medicine world, because we're looking at that thyroid and we're looking at thyroid stores. We're looking at active thyroid hormone, inactive thyroid hormone that might actually cause you to lose more hair. And so all the different factors that go into it. So it's not as easy as taking Synthroid. And I'll tell you, we hear all the time, people will say, I started taking Synthroid for a low thyroid and all my hair started to fall out.
Oh, wow.
And so and it happens often because this T4, which is your Synthroid, because of stress, gets converted into reverse T3 instead of active thyroid hormone, which is really what our end goal is, which is T3. And so really overall, where do we start functional medicine wise with Roots Up medicine? It's complicated. It's also pretty individual, right? And so, but where can you start right away? Eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, and stress well. Those are the things that I would tell you to start right away on your own. And if those things aren't making a difference, come and do some blood work and come see someone that does functional medicine, someone like us, and we can really put the individual spin on it.
I love it. Those are some really good graphics too,
Thank you.
Of course, I'm very visual, so I loved it all. And the gazelle, I love that one too.
I'm like, if that gazelle can do it, so can we, right?
Yes. Yeah. There are so many components to hair loss. And so someone to ask you or me, like, well, what can I do differently? It's not a product, It's going to take some time to dig deep and see what it is too, is the problem, right? So I like that, mentioning not using a lot of like harsh chemicals, the heating elements, I just recently started not washing my hair every day because everyone says it's so bad to wash it. But yeah, I was a daily washer. I have to admit.
It was just, that's how I woke up, I jumped in the shower, I washed my hair. It was just such a thing, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't know this was an option. And so I started first just like conditioning it. Like I would still jump in the shower and I would just throw some conditioner in. And now I'm able to go a couple of days and I feel pretty okay.
Yeah.
But it's really different.
Yeah. Well, you have so many avenues to look at on people. And I'm a fan of all your blood work because it really just tells the person, it just tells you everything about me. So
we have people come in all the time and they'll say, listen, you treat my neighbor, I'm exactly like her. Like we could be twins. We started losing hair at the same time. We have the same fatigue. And I'm always like, okay, but I'm telling you, you're going to be completely different. And they always are, because I think what people know is that something isn't balanced. They know when they're nutritionally not balanced. They know when they're inflamed, and they know when they're hormonally imbalanced. And that's what they mean by that. But to fix that, you have to really get deep down into the roots and try and figure out what's not balanced and fix it.
Yeah.
It's just
and then how crazy is 2020 with all the stress? I mean, if you don't hear it every day from every patient or anyone you talk to, I mean, if I had a dime every time, right?
I don't think I've ever had a year like this. I mean, with the loss, there's just so much going on. Some of it's good stress, some of it's bad stress, but man, it's really different. And so I totally agree with you. I feel like I'm losing a little bit of hair just because it's been a little bit more stressful. Like it's really an interesting thing. So, but I will tell you this is what I'm so proud of my patients about, is coming up into the holidays, coming up into the next year, everyone's really motivated. They're like, okay, if these last 9 months have been a little rough, right? But we're like ready to get back into the swing of things. Life might look a little different, but we're ready to get back to our own life, take control of our bodies again, lose the, well, what are they calling it now? oh shoot, in England they're calling it the something kilo for COVID-19. I can't remember what they are. Have you heard these?
Well, no, but I like to call it the COVID-19 pounds.
The
You know,
COVID-19 pounds.
some people call it like the college, like freshman 15, but I'm like, no, I feel like it's more than that, really.
No,
People have really been.
I think it was the COVID calories or something like that. I can't remember,
cute.
but it was really cute. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being on here. I'm sure that if anyone has any questions, we'll just send them your way to reach out to you, but always a wealth of knowledge, always.
Thank you so much, Larry. I can miss you guys. We'll see you soon. And by the way, thanks for the flowers. They're beautiful.
You're welcome.
See you soon.